If you imagine a James Bond scenario and he's running around the laptop looking for files, looking for processes, that agent is then going to take that information back to the people that need to know.
It can tell you if there's 500 devices that have never been turned on, actually that's an opportunity to save money.
Who do I go to? What solution should I use? A lot of it is just next generation antivirus.
How secure are the security products, and are we actually keeping up to date to make sure that they're not inadvertently actually opening doors?
Security gives assurance. If you can give assurance to investors, customers, your business grows.
Cybersecurity is a complex issue. Its challenges can range from the technical solutions we attempt to deploy to internal politics, driven by cost benefit. In this episode of Cybershare, we talk to industry experts about the ever-changing face of endpoint detection and response, the impact of the change the technology has gone through over the last 10 years, why this technology is fundamentally misunderstood, misrepresented, and missold, and how this technology can help support an enterprise.
EDR, endpoint detection and response, historically was always malware, your antivirus programs that would run on a computer. It's evolved considerably since then. It's now a whole load of detection and response against those endpoint computers, like your laptops, your servers, and anything that's facing outwards.
EDR provides the ability to detect malicious or suspicious activity based on telemetry from a device and provides you with some capabilities to respond to that.
If you imagine a James Bond scenario, you've got James Bond, he's your special agent working for MI6, who are the intelligence agency, and he's running around the laptop looking for files, looking for processes that are being triggered or being set off, looking for clues as to what's happening on the device. And that agent is then going to take that information back to the HQ, which is MI6 in this instance. And then what the intelligence analysts will do is they'll then feed that information back to the people that need to know. And in our case, in cybersecurity, that'll be the security operations teams. So they'll be alerted to the fact that there's a process that's occurred or a process being triggered that could signify there's a pattern of anomalous behavior occurring.
The great thing with EDR is that there are so many things you can detect, from bad malware, from phishing to behavior even. So it could be a trigger or a number of things that happen in sequence. It can tell you if there's 500 devices that have never been turned on, actually that's an opportunity to save money. And that's the power of EDR. It gives you a bigger picture on what happens on an endpoint or be it a server or a laptop.
In previous lifetimes, we would have had a very contained perimeter with well-defined perimeter defences. We would have, on-prem applications that would be managed by in-house staff. And obviously now that model is very different. So we have bring your own device, we have a shift to the cloud, we have really exciting collaborative projects with multiple third-party delivery partners or managed service partners. And all of that again, that concept of the perimeter then dissolves. So it becomes even more important to actually find out what's happening on your endpoints, and that's where EDR can really come into its own. It gives you that visibility, it gives you that insight into what's actually happening in the various constituent parts of your now very diverse environment.
EDR solutions come in many variations and have different user cases. This creates a challenge for users and vendors, as how do we determine what is the right tool for the job, and what happens if we choose the wrong one?
Who do I go to? What solution should I use? A lot of it is just next generation antivirus that they're deploying. It's not necessarily a true endpoint detection and response solution. I wouldn't say that vendors are mis-selling EDR solutions. I think they're playing to the need of organizations. So when organizations are surveyed for what their pain points are, again, it's down to the security leaders not fully understanding their actual needs.
It works both ways. It can work. Sometimes good vendors, good third-party vendors and suppliers can really help deal with some of the challenges and say, we will take that off your hands, we'll take care of it. We provide this assurance, these are our guarantees, and we'll take care of it. In some cases, they can actually over-convolute the situation by saying we can solve this for you by putting some tools in place. And that actually can work adversely, because what happens is, here's a tool that would fix all your problems. Actually, that more often than not, that's not the case.
We were working with a customer. They had kind of been missold EDR. They had purchased it under the understanding that it was going to address a lot of issues they had in terms of advanced threat detection and mitigation. But really, it brought them noise. It brought them too many alerts that they didn't have the technical capabilities and resources internally to manage. So we ended up displacing that particular solution by just putting in place our endpoint product, which does the vast majority of that automatically, and then providing a lightweight EDR to give them some response capabilities post-incident. I think there needs to be a bit more collaboration from individual EDR vendors to say, you cannot call this EDR if it doesn't do these certain things.
The bad guys are realising that actually these security products are very pervasive and could give them a foothold in a very, very broad set of organisations, should they succeed in compromising them. So there's a wee bit of a question there to say, right, how secure are the security products, and are we actually keeping up to date, with these types of solutions to make sure that they're not inadvertently actually opening doors?
It's important for leadership to hold the vendor accountable for the promises that they made, of course, but it's also incumbent on you to communicate back to the vendor about any material changes in your infrastructure. If all of a sudden you've discovered a new digital transformation project in your organization, you may want to call that vendor, alert them to that fact, and suggest, hey, we need a piece of technology, or can our solution incorporate this new aspect of our business? You see this a lot in mergers and acquisitions, where you have a company X merging with company Y. Company X tech stack is completely different from company Y. You now have an opportunity to engage with the vendor and say, what is it going to look like with this new piece of technology? Is it going to be disruptive? Do I need more training? Or is it better for me to take over that and replace it with something that we have expertise in and a level of comfort?
Navigating the minefield of EDR options can be a daunting task. However, in recent years, this has become increasingly complicated as the juggernauts of the tech world have now entered the arena.